All right. I want to introduce our political person on the ground, our political reporter and analyst, and our helper here, Mackenna Head Wehmeyer. She's helped us out during the last session and advised us greatly. She shepherded us through the case of halls over there under the dome and kind of told us about rail issues and when they're going to be filed, and we came to either go yay or nay to help support them if they were good, and no if we thought they were going to be bad. And she kind of pointed us to the right room where we needed to testify before the House and the Senate committees, even testifying at one session that lasted into the wee hours of the morning. So I can sympathize with those that are elected and have to serve down there in Austin and the long hours that you have to put in. She's also going to touch on efforts that we helped an interim charge. You know, lawmakers actually do something between sessions, okay? They are busy. And there's called interim charges. There's all kinds of committee meetings that go in between every 2 years. And we were involved with bipartisan help of Central Texas representatives in a cause that could have spurred development of an inter-city passenger rail corridor where it is sadly needed. Mackenna will now take us under the dome in Austin and look at the previous session and what we might expect next year. So please welcome Mackenna.
I feel like this microphone has been used for taller people than I all day. So.
There you go.
Yeah. Hello all. Like Peter said, thank you for that introduction. I'm Mackenna Wehmeyer. I represent the Texas Rail Advocates down in Austin, and I'm happy to stand here to report mostly good news from the 86th legislative session that wrapped up in May of 2019. First and foremost, I would like to touch on a matter that is very important during a legislative session, and that is defense. Sometimes it's easy to get bogged down in what was passed, only looking at what was passed during a session, and really that's only part of the battle. Just as important, and sometimes more importantly, is what was not passed, and this past session was really a great example of that. Several members and senators tried to pass bills that would negatively impact rail, specifically concerning a little project called Bullet Train between Houston and Dallas that you're all familiar with. And thanks to a lot of hard work from so many people in this room and groups like those in this room today, none of those bills made it past the goal line. And that's a huge accomplishment and something we definitely need to consider when we're looking at the overall success of a legislative session. Unfortunately, there were some good bills that died in this process. One in particular we were sad to see make it was HB 1068 by Representative Trent Ashby. It was nicknamed the Short Line Bill, and it would have provided strategies for rail relocation and improvement, including a franchise tax credit for certain railroad reconstruction or replacement expenditures. So, however, due to a no new tax abatements policy that was heavily relied upon during session, this bill did not make it past the goal line, and it didn't actually come out of the Transportation Committee, so that was not so good. However, there is some good news, obviously, for the short line railroad industry of the federal government. At the end of last year, President Trump signed the 5G extension for the next 5 years. This will give a tax credit to short line and regional railroads for infrastructure improvements. The bill is retroactive to 2018 and will run through 2022. So I don't know how often we can say thank you to the federal government, but this was one of those times. A shining light in good rail legislation was passed by Representative Matt Krause, his bill HB 2775. And this is a rail safety bill that would prohibit pedestrians from moving in front of, under, between, or through the cars of a moving or stationary train occupying any part of a railroad grade crossing. And as we heard earlier today in one of the presentations, Texas is one of the 3 states for these kinds of accidents. So this is excellent news for us. We were excited to see it was passed, and it went into effect September 1st of last year. So Representative Krause is here to speak to us today, so he'll touch a little bit more on that, and we're excited to hear about it. So looking forward, there are some important things that I want to focus on, good, positive things that I want to focus on. As Peter mentioned at the beginning of this year, Governor Abbott made some promising comments, we'll say, regarding multimodal transportation. Governor Abbott has historically been a pretty straightforward proponent of highways being the way to improve transportation. You want better transportation? Highways. Simple as that. However, I'm going to do a direct quote from Governor Abbott. He said that the way people are using transportation is changing, and therefore the generation of roads the Texas Transportation Commission is building is probably the last major build-out of roads we'll have in the state of Texas, even considering the fact that Texas is the fastest growing state in America. So that, take a second to let that sink in, because that's a pretty big deal. It's a shocking statement, but extremely encouraging for all the rail advocates in this room, because we're finally seeing some multimodal progress. Currently, you've seen it up on these slideshows, and there's a thing in your packet, a postcard in your packet. 99% of the Texas Department of Transportation's annual funding goes to rails and highways. 99%. So there's hope that this revelation from Governor Abbott will just encourage the Texas legislature to be more creative with the way we're using our transportation funding, to take another look at what the spending mechanisms are and start to back away from that 99% as we kind of look towards other ways we can improve transportation aside from roads and highways. So we are encouraged by that, though I know there are a couple of different interpretations. Representative Israel. I think we can still think it's encouraging. So, but some more encouraging work, speaking of Representative Israel, came from the process of submitting potential interim charges. So for those of you who don't know, like you mentioned, during the interim, the legislature does still work. They don't just pass up and go home and do nothing. There's a process over the summer where the different members and senators will present different topics that they want to study to the Speaker and Lieutenant Governor, respectively. And they hope that the committees can study during the interim, therefore helping kind of move things along once session starts. And Representative Israel, she's here, obviously, to speak with us today. She worked with stakeholders to obtain a letter of support to study the impact of passenger rail between Austin and San Antonio. And the letter received 20 signatures of bipartisan support from other members of the Texas House. And though Speaker Bonin did not choose the charge to be an official item to be studied, we think that Representative Israel's work has proven that there's an appetite for this kind of thing in the Texas House and from both sides of the aisle. So this gives us hope that under a new speaker next session, we can continue this momentum towards some more solutions.